You tell me when to start, huh?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can we now take our seat and we'll be formally opening our program.
napapagod na sa mundong ito. Nakakapagod pala. Kaya siguro, panahon na para sabihin tama na. Lagi kong sinasabi sa sarili ko, kaya ko pa. Pero kaya ko pa ba talaga? Ayoko na. Lagi nandiyan ang dilim nag-iimbita sa tuwing mag-isa. Walang nakakarinig sa aking sigaw. Kahit sumisigaw araw-araw. Walang may pakialam sa aking nararamdaman. Kaya ako pinanghihinaan. Wala silang naririnig. Kaya wala na rin akong ibang marinig kundi, halika na. Alam kong ikaw ay pagod na. Pasensya na sa mga mali ko. Pasensya na kung ako ay bobo. At pasensya na rin kung pagod na ako. Pagod na ang mata sa pagpatak ng mga luha. Luhang hindi nakikita ng iba. Ang ngiti sa camera, yun na lang yung nakikita. Gusto ko nang tapusin to kasi ang puso ay punong-puno. Punong-puno ng takot sa tao. Takot nang mabuhay sa mundo. Tumitigas ang tuhod kung puso ko'y kumakalabog. Ang liwanag unti-unti nang nawawala. Kaya sige na, malapit nang ako iyong makita. Sa iyong imbita, ako na ay sasama.
Brothers and sisters and all friends, I'm just conveying you that there is a problem in our community. This has been big effort in part of the people who are involved in putting this all together, and this is a big thank you to everyone for sharing your time this afternoon. This is not a thank you for us, this is a thank you for the people that you will be helping after this event. You know, brothers, my friends, our community has been matured enough, and I know before we only discuss among ourselves problems that are who will be the head of the community, who will be holding the chairman of the club or society, but now we come to a point that we are now mature. We are matured and we have a different challenge now. Dear friends, the incidence of suicide is not just an ordinary event anymore in our community. When I first started this initiative 3 weeks ago, we were just the Filipino who is only 70,000 in the whole New Zealand, is ranked number 4, the highest incidence. And would you believe, in just a matter of 2 weeks, our community has jumped into the second. My dear friends, our youth is suffering, and I can tell you that. Thank you so much for putting your time to come over, making sure that we will be aware, we will be prepared for any situation such as these cases. Fortunately enough, our voice were heard of these professionals who are now here with us sharing their time and their experience to help our community. And thank you so much for them. I'm really glad and I'm really touched for what Dr. Lu had mentioned to me when I have invited her to come to speak to us this afternoon. It's the only very simple phrase that I heard from her, which touched me. She said, Kuya, ang inihiling mo ay maunting bagay lang. It's just a little time of her. But the goodness and the result of this will be greater. And I'm inspired of that. Now, let me just introduce you to our first speaker, who is our head in the Manukau district for the victim support. Her name is Grace. She's the area manager in the Manukau Victim Support in the Manukau Police Station. She come here over to share with us what sort of support they provide, because we need to look on two things here. It is not the case only of the departed, but it's the case of the victims that were left behind. What are those that we need to deal with, and what support they provide? So let me introduce to you to Grace Chen.
Thank you, as you know that my name is Grace. By the last name, you probably know that I'm a Chinese. I married a Samoan. That's the reason why I came to New Zealand. But I actually worked in Canada for about 18 years and trained as a counselor. So when I came here, I was so grateful that I would be able to appoint by victim support, one of the jobs that I really enjoyed doing it. So just give you, I have to say thank you for inviting me to be with you, because it is something that we really like to do, engage with the community, just to let you know what our role is, what and how victim support can engage with the community. So just give you a little bit background why I am here right now. I think more than a month ago, victim support with police organized a religious leaders meeting at counties, and we were talking about all victim support service and the need of the society. And after the meeting, Ariel was really proactive approaching us, to see whether we could be part of this community day. And that's the reason why I'm here, and I'm grateful to be invited. So I just wanted to give you a general picture of what victim support do. Can I ask a question? How many of you have heard about victim support before, or had victim support service in a way? A couple of you, eh? Yeah. So victim support is actually an organization. I don't know if, does it work? Victim support is an organization provides support to victim of crime and also trauma. That's the reason why we involve in a little bit, support for family they lost someone to suicide. So that's part of our role. What our values and mission is to support and empower victims to be safe, heal, and participate at every step of the journey. So that means that once we involve, we really want it to be, by you, walk alongside you and provide you resources and support until your needs are met. So this is what we are doing. So we are 24/7 service. So it's not saying that we're actively working 24 hours, but we do have a contact service. We do have people on the roster. If any crisis happen after hour, then we do have people to attend the incident. So it's 24 hours 7. Yeah. Hold on a second. working mostly with Ministry of Justice. We got 70% funding from Ministry of Justice and the other funding from MSD, MOH, and a little bit from police, and around Tamaraki, but the rest of the funding basically we need to raise ourselves, but 70% is from MOJ. Yeah. So, next one please. So just give you a little bit picture how much work that we have done. So when we say that we're providing people support, providing support for people affected by crime and trauma. So you can see the list of like 2021 and to 22, the type of people, the people that we support affected by the type of incidents. Like we have a lot of domestic violence people that we support, but we also support homicides, sudden death, all kind of sudden death, and also suicide and homicide, and different type of incidents, like the Christchurch incidents happened, 2 years ago. We're still supporting the victims, so it's a longevity of support there. So if you can see that total number of victims that we support last year is 46,000, and our contact service, which is a national contact service, received a referral call, and all call come to victim support is about 82,000. So because this particular workshop or community event is focusing on suicide, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we do as victim support. So Victim Support is a national organization. So if you see the country, there are 5 colors. So we actually divided our suicide support in 5 different regions. So if you see Auckland, it's actually very kind of small color there, but it's actually a high number, population. So we have 5 suicide service specialists cover 5 areas, and oversees the quality of work, of supporting family in these 5 areas. So down south, you can see it's 2 regions, and then North Island, because of the population, is another 3 colors there. So Ariel has given you a number, or the percentage of, people from your community affected by suicide. But last year, if we look at July 1st to June 2020, we had 538 suicides in the country. But we believe the people affected by this number of suicide actually is up to 72,000. So just give you a little bit picture why we're seeing that. Because, if a family affected, they lost someone to suicide, in fact, it's not just that family being affected. Do you agree with me? Like your relative, right? Your immediate family, your relative, if that loved one attends school friends affected. So, did we miss another? Yeah, that one. So it's just looking at this. Can you click it again? Yeah. Yeah, click it one more time. Oh, okay, that's okay. The slide is not really working. So go back to this plane. So this is a Boeing 737. So usually this Boeing aircraft, yes, can hold on how many people? 300 people, right? So if we look at 76,000 people being affected, it's like how many plane crash refer to this? About 4, at least 4 to 5, right? But what I'm trying to say is the impact, in fact, might not be less than a plane crash, because it's long. It's quite, it's a long healing journey. is a long healing journey, and also each individual, how they go through this journey is actually quite different. I remember when I was working in similar area, when we provide support, we learn how not to judge someone, oh, why are you not moving on? Because moving on is actually a very tricky situation. You know, it's a very complex grief. So when you have someone affected by this, or you yourself affected by this, you might feel that, oh, why I felt stuck, or why I'm not moving on. In fact, it's actually quite a normal situation. You know, everyone facing that it has a great impact in their life. Yeah. So next one, please. So victim support's role. You pressed the wrong, like the other button. Yeah, this one. One more, please. So victim support's role, in fact, is not doing prevention. I mean, we start supporting the family after they lost someone to suicide. So what we said is post-prevention support, but post-prevention, in fact, is crisis intervention. Is actually part of the prevention. You know, so if you look at, so four major things that objectives that we will look at is ease trauma and effects when we going to, you know, start to support a family. And then prevent adverse grief and reaction or complications. Minimize risk of suicidal behavior. Encourage coping and resilience. So post-prevention is actually the first step in the prevention for future suicide. In fact, this is very important. So before Jordan coming to speak, I really like to encourage, if you do, unfortunately, a situation happen in your farm now, the number one thing is allow yourself to get help, or allow, community service coming to help you. That's the first step of prevention. So our work, basically we have trained support workers, when we have specialists at the background, to provide emotional support, practical support. Practical support could be, it really depends on the need of the family. It could be, helping you to find a funeral home, or helping you to look at coroner process, and, and also looking at, the practical needs. If someone, the loved one you lost is actually the major breadwinner for the family, then victim support will be in a position to find whether community service or some other service could provide you, immediate needs. Justice system support, financial support, advocacy, so this is all we can do or support the family to go through. Whenever this happens, things could be kind of turning into chaos. It would be really helpful, if someone can walk alongside you, and take away the stress from you, and you would allow yourself or your family to be properly, grieving the loss. That's actually very important. Next one, please. So our service delivery, just let you know how this happened. So if a family, let's say in this community, lost someone in suicide, usually police will attend to the incident, and the police will refer to victim support, because victim support has a contract with New Zealand Health, and we will, we're in position to contact the family. So the next step, so police will do a referral to us, and the next step, we will contact the family. But we will, we're not trying to force into it, because every family they have, they have different understanding of victim support, and they might not ready to have someone come into their home or build relationship with them, because this is a very sensitive subject, right? So we will try to make contact, and if police would like us to be in the family, to visit the family right in the beginning, then we will do it. We will send someone to go with the police, and then build relationship and see how many people in the family that in fact, really need our support. And then the third step, we will keep the relationship from the first contact, then the first follow-up, and then follow-up visit. The first part of support could be up to 6 months, because the grief is, when you have impact coming to your life, you might not realize what is the need you have. So we will stay with the family, even though some of the family, they might not want us to engage with them, but we will check in with them, maybe around 6 months' time, or in the right time that we will re-engage and see how they're doing. Yeah. So and after that, we will review the whole situation and see whether we should continue to work with the family, or the family, in fact, they have their own support system, they're doing really well, then we will phasing out. So in this process, we will engage other organizations, because victim support cannot be someone to, cannot be everything to everybody. So we might engage with mental health, we might engage with, budgeting or other services, just, can continue to do assessment for the family and see what we can, advocates for them, or bring the resources for them. That's what we said, wraparound service. Yeah, the next one, please. And then we, as I said, that we will decide whether we should close it. We'll discuss with the family. We will not just say that, we're closing your file right now. And one of the language that we learn as victim support, we will try to avoid saying close your file, because we like the people that we support. They know that we respect them as human beings, fellow community people together. It's not just a case, and it's not a file number, So the people past, they still live in your heart and live in your memory. So that's what we try to avoid. It's not just a case, it's not just a file, but we will discuss with the family whether we should, disengage now, just let you, to walk, empowerment, that you can acknowledge that you can walk on your own right now. So next one. So we got the resources. So I'm not going to talk details about that. I have already put the resources outside on the table, so you can go after the meeting. You can go outside to grab some if you're interested. I think that's it for me. Any questions? Just a brief nutshell of what we do. Yeah. Any question? Maybe we can wait until yeah.
I have a question. Are your services come in different languages?
We want to, as much as we can. So, like County's Mama Cow team, for example, we have Mali people, we have Samoan, we have Pakeha. So, if someone coming in, they are with limited English, then we will try to fit, find the best person to support them that they can speak the language. Yeah, but unfortunately, because we're very diverse, in Auckland, so there are moments that we don't really have people speak the same language. But what we will do, when we don't have people speak the same language, we will go through the whole country's staff and volunteers and see whether we have someone can speak that language. At least we can do phone support. While we have someone here, we can do phone support. If we don't have anyone to speak that language nationally, then we'll go to our organization that we work with. The name is Easy Speak. So they would have lots of, they have a language bank. They have people speaking lots of languages. So what we do, that's the final resource. What we do is using the phone app. So when we talk, the Easy Speak people will translate right away, during the time. So that's what we can, what we try to do our best. Yeah. Yes.
How long do you provide the service for?
Do I have to use the mic or? Okay, this is a bit. How can I do it? Oh, there you go. Sorry, I cannot hear you.
And then how long do you provide service for in case of victims or support with them?
It really depends because we're supporting people affected by crime and trauma, you know. So if it's just I shouldn't say that. So I don't want to give you a wrong impression that we categorize people in different levels. But sometimes crime might be a bit, you know, less intense. You know, like burglary compared with homicide is very different, right? So it really depends on the situation. Like, but we do support people over a few years. Yeah, like for example, we do support people lost someone in suicide in few years. And I mean, for few years, homicide particularly can be very long because someone died and they go through the court process and then parole and then, you know, all this stuff. So it could be very long. But victim support always welcome people to re-engage with us regardless. You know, but some people might be 1 week or maybe just one phone call, you know, because we don't force ourselves into you. You know, if you're not ready or you don't feel that you need victim support, that's all okay too. Yeah. Yes. Do you still have the question or? No. The lady after behind there. Yeah.
Your services are open for temporary visa holders, right? Not just for residents and temporary.
You mean the people that we support?
I mean the services of victim support is open for temporary visa holders, right?
We open for everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah. So 90% of the referral from the police, but we do have referral from DHB, you know, other organization and self-referral. You know, a lot of domestic violence people, they know victim support name, they will come to us, and then we access their risk level, we'll, you know, talk to the police and refer them maybe to a more, you know, trained organization to support them. But yeah, we receive referral from everywhere. And our support is not limited to just, you know, residents, but there are some fundings, particular funding-wise, you know, because we do have funding, will be limited to, mostly limited to residents, yeah. Or incidents happening issues. All right?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay, one more question, then I'll pass the time to Ariel, yeah.
So who initiates the contact, you or the victim?
Who initiates
The contact.
the contact? All right, so if we have a referral coming in, we will initiate the contact. Yeah. So if a police, you talking about police referral, all right? If police have attended to your family because of one incident, they will ask you or let you know that victim support will contact you. So we will initiate the contact. Either you receive a letter from us, either you receive a phone call. So it depends on you whether you want to engage with us. All right. So yes, it will be us to take the initiative. But as I said, there's a self-referral. Okay. So if you do think that victim support could be a benefit to you, you can phone 0800 victim, which is 0800 number outside that you can take it with you, 0800 victim. Or you go to any police station saying that I'd like to talk to a victim support person. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think before we say thank you, we get something for Grace as an appreciation from the community for the time you have spent with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, my friends, I do hope that we won't be needing all this support. Because, of course, situation like this is traumatic and I don't like, and this is the purpose of us here. Try to avoid being in those situations. Make their life, their work easy So if there's no victim support or anything, life is so nice. But we're not in paradise. So we have to accept we have been challenged, our community is being challenged, and it's about this particular time that we, as matured people, are talking about these incidents, this situation we're in now, head on. So, okay, we move on to our second speaker. There are two of them, and we are fortunate enough to invite them. They are from the Waitemata District Health Board. They are mainly focused on the prevention and post-prevention of suicide. And I'm sure we will be learning more about this. And let me introduce to you Jordan Johnston. She's a suicide prevention of post-prevention coordinator of mental health addiction services of the Manukau County's Waitemata District Health Board. So I'm giving you Jordan.
Hi, can everyone hear me okay? Because I'm really not that good on the mic. Yeah, thank you. So kia ora koutou, I'm Jordan. So I'm with Te Whatuora, New Zealand, previously the District Health Board. I cover the county's Manukau Health area. So I'm suicide prevention and post-prevention. Just a bit about me. I've only been in this mahi about 6 months now. I come from a background of working with communities around minimising alcohol and other drug harm. I have 2 young children, a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I stay out in counties as well, in Takanini. Also, Ario, thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. I really appreciate it, and I'm really passionate about this mahi. In particular, I'm working with communities, so this is a space that I love to be in and love to share. And it's really important for the community to see who I am, and that I do welcome contact as well. If anyone has questions or wants to do something in their community, I'm always happy to up here and support. I come from also 12 years Auckland Council, so I'm quite, I've got a few connections in Auckland Council and knowledge of local board areas as well, so happy to help in that space too. So it's just a bit about me, and my colleague Manu is here today, so I'll probably just call him up whenever I need to. I don't know, Manu, you want to come introduce yourself? Yeah, real quick.
Hello everyone, my name is Maufunua Manufina Fotu. It's a long name, it's a Tongan name, and it means in English, the way I look at it, it's a wandering bird. So I've wandered all over the place. I was born in Tonga until I was 15, before migrating here like the rest of our Pacific Island people who are coming over to New Zealand, Aotearoa, for better life and education. That's how I ended up here. And then I wandered over to England. 10 years I was there, and I just happened to find a wife over in England. And so we've been married 32 years yesterday. And wandered back to Aotearoa again and involved with mental health and addictions. That's my background, been a clinician for a long time. And then I worked in NGO for Pacific for 7 years. Before taking up this role 8 years ago. I always joke that when I started this role, I had an afro, a big afro, but looks like But anyway, it's been a long time, and I have I lived in the North Shore, so I have a good connections to a lot of Filipino, especially around basketball. My children, they all play basketball, and they're just privileged enough to play for New Zealand. My eldest son is, 3 of them all play for New Zealand. So I'm quite pleased, and that's my connections to the Filipino community. So I've been working with Jordan on a national level. It's good just to let you know that we do have a body of suicide prevention coordinators throughout the country. And we do have connections and have meetings every month just to look at how things are going in different area of the Motu. And it's a great privilege to be here, actually, to connect with the Filipino community. As you know, it's just like the Pacific. When we migrate to Aotearoa, we were under the umbrella of Pacific. But we do have our ethnic specific islands within it. I'm Tongan, and there are Samoan, Cook Island, it's all no different. Likewise, the Asians community, you know, it's so easy to just say Asians, but you're all coming from different specific unique communities, like the Filipino community. So it's very important to bear that in mind when it comes to supporting each community, because we all have our own individual needs that we can identify, and then we can provide some support likewise. So there's a brief introduction, but it wasn't brief. A short, long introduction.
I guess I'll go through a bit of a presentation and overview of my role and just touch a bit on how to manage crisis. Also just caveat that I don't come from a clinical background, but I know you have a wonderful doctor who's speaking later today, so it's where all the clinical questions can go. I will share a little bit about the national data set and just really reflecting what Manu said. Filipino ethnic data does sit under that wider Asian ethnic data, so I am going to be sharing that Asian ethnic data at a national level. With the numbers being so small per like district health board level counties, Waitemata, ADHB, I'm not going to share any local data, particularly with the last 3 years it all sits under suspected, but the numbers being so small, the people behind that data can be identifiable, and so to protect privacy, I just want to share that. And also really mindful that this is quite a heavy topic, so please be kind to yourself. If anything is triggering for you, please feel free to get a drink of water, take a breath, or just have a pause. 1737 is a really great kind of like main contact for peer support and to talk to a trained counsellor. You can text or free call that number at any time. It's a 24/7 line. It's manned by Whakarongoro, and they have about 40 different languages of interpreters as well, if that's a need there. And that's the main mental health crisis line as well. If someone is in crisis, and they'll direct you to your local crisis line number. So in relation to the data, just really acknowledge that sometimes the data can seem a bit impersonal, but absolutely recognise that there are people behind that data. And there may be people in this room that are bereaved by suicide, that are supporting somebody that's experiencing crisis or mental health distress, or someone who has suicidal ideation. So I really acknowledge that, and I see you, and I am always here if somebody wants to chat about that, or like I said, tap into the 1737 line. Fine, thank you. Like Manu said, just a bit of an overview of the structure. We have our counterparts across the mutu, across the country, and we sit within that hierarchy of, we have Ministry of Health and the Suicide Prevention Office. So like Manu said, when we meet nationally, every month, that's where we can talk about, concerning trends or any particular maybe increases or spikes that we're experiencing, and then that's a space where we can raise it to the Suicide Prevention Office. We have a new director, mag-atubiling, and they oversee our Every Life Matters, which is our national strategic document as well. So some of the roles across the country are suicide prevention specific or post-prevention specific, or whānau support as well, so it all kind of depends. Manu has another person working with him, Christine Jones, who does some of the post-prevention and whānau support mahi, but for counties I cover both those spaces. We have local action plans as well. So for counties, we're in a bit of a process of refreshing. So that's a really great opportunity to kind of feed in, what are the concerns or communities of interest that we can put under our action plan. So this is just a bit of overview of the data, reflecting on what Grace was saying. You can see over the last 3 years is a significant decrease in our suspected suicide numbers. So the graphs here are all taken from the Ministry of Health suicide web tool that is accessible to the public. You'll have those the end data sets there sitting in as suspected as a suicide case and sit for coroner for up to 3 years. And underneath here, so that's all ethnic data here. You can see it starts from the financial year being 08 and 09, bringing us up to 30 June this year. And then underneath here you've got our Asian ethnic data group. So you can see that there's been a significant drop over the last year. You know, in the 19-20 years sitting at 53, only dropping a tiny bit on the next year, but we've dropped it significantly down to 32 over the past financial year. But like I said, you know, one death to suicide is always going to be one too many, and the tragedy around that. And like Grace said, there's some research that was done in 2016 that showed 135 people can be directly impacted by a suicide death. So if you think about that 538, you know, and multiply that by all those other people that have been impacted, you know, that is a huge number. So we really need to, you know, break down that stigma and that those conversation barriers around suicide, and really start enabling people to safely, comfortably talk about the tragic circumstances around sudden death related to suicide. This is just this is just, you mentioned young people. So I just put in the young people, and I know this is, a lot of the stats are really, really hard to even look at times. So you can see the numbers here. Our young people in that 20 to 24 age bracket, that's usually obviously after they've left those you know, routine structures of school, and sometimes are feeling a bit unsure of where life is going to take them, and some of those support networks and structures disappear. So it's quite a concerning age group there, and the numbers have only dropped so slightly, and sadly, 19. So yeah, so 59 down to 39 for this year for our 15 to 19-year-olds. But sadly, in that 20 to 24-year-olds, we have gone up to 70 from 59 in the 19-20 year. So from a prevention perspective, you know, there are a number of training opportunities, and I guess this will be my call to action to you as a community, is encouraging that upskilling and that knowledge, and again, it really helps break down that stigma. Life Keepers is run by Libreng. They hold the contract for that kaupapa. It's a homegrown and clinically safe suicide prevention awareness training. You can do a one-day training in person. If you go on their website, they usually have what's available, and you can sign up on there, but they do have an online module that you can sign up, that you can do at your own pace. It's a really great introduction to suicide prevention, including just things like language. You know, we don't use words like commit suicide because it's not a crime. You know, we want to be using terminology like died by suicide. There's another, and these are all free. The ones like Keepers and Blueprint for Learning, they do a mental health 101 and addictions 101. They also do like a mental health 101 focusing on like ethnic community groups, but it's quite broad. But there is opportunity there on like how we can influence some of these trainings, and I think that's something that I really love about my role, is that I can try and raise those voices of the community of like where those resource and training gaps are, to look at how we can funnel some funding towards creating something like that. So if that was a need for the community to have something ethnic or language specific, how we can kind of influence that in that space there. So the next kind of level is there's ASSIST and the AOK group. They did the suicide intervention training, and that one comes at a bit of a cost, but that one is about a 2-day training. They actually have a range of trainings, but that's that intervention training. So that's giving you that skill set on how to intervene when somebody is in crisis at that kind of physical level, if you're dealing with somebody in the moment, and how to have that conversation, keep them talking, and how to have a life-saving conversation. We've also got mental health first aid. That's run by a number of organisations, including St John's, it is at cost as well, but St John's, I recently connected with them, and they said they are happy to put a proposal forward to the area committees to look at funding mental health first aid training for the Filipino community. If that's a request that comes through, I'm always happy to support that. We also have the mates in construction. So if you have people or whānau from your community that are working in the construction industry, they are supported by mates, and so that's a suicide prevention training specific to the construction industry, and they have their own 100 helpline, and they have like case managers that are registered social workers, and they can provide a lot of wraparound response and support for people that are experiencing mental distress, suicidal ideation, or bereavement by suicide. And there's the eCount site as well, and it's a really great place for ethnic-specific mental health and other resources, and working with Kiriko and Sulim and Counties Manukau Health to do some more suicide prevention mahi in that space. I found this morning actually, the New Zealand Asian Health Wellbeing and Mental Health Report 2001. So this is just reflecting on Filipino wellbeing. So it was reported in this report some quite high satisfaction with life in Aotearoa, New Zealand. But again, acknowledging here that third most at risk of depression after Korean and Indian ethnic ethnicities. So again, like that's that space where we're really encouraging people to talk to their GP, encouraging young people if they're not registered to a GP to sign up. Your GP is usually that first point of call if you're not going to reach out to the helplines. And the GP can look at pathwaying to support, whether it be counselling support or referring to a health improvement. What's a health coach? Practitioner. Health improvement practitioner. Some more sinanay team related worries as well, and again that stigma around that mental health and wellbeing and mental illness as well. So I guess that's that call to action is like how do we support your community to break down some of those barriers and encourage a conversation about mental health and it being okay, and it's okay to reach out for help. Oh yeah.
Just before we go on to the resources, I think it's useful to just briefly talk about the actual interventions that we play. Myself, suicide preventions, but also the post-prevention. Jordan mentioned Christina Jones that worked for us. She's been working since May, and Auckland counties, they got a whānau support as well, but she sits with a marae outside the old DHB, if you like. We are the Whatuora now, we are in the transition to the new system. But I think it's important to just briefly tell you how the information we receive and how do we activate support to the community. So as the suicide prevention managers, we are not privileged, but we have a responsibility of receiving the notifications from the coroner. They come through KASA, which is another organization that they facilitate the information to come to us in a short period of time when the case happened, with a view that we use the information to provide a timely support to the whānau. This is when inter-agencies come into play and to help each other of providing the support, and Grace talk about victim support. They are critical organizations in terms of that support. So we receive the notifications and we each activate our own group of agencies within our region. I look after Auckland DHB boundary and also Waitemata. So just reflecting on the data briefly, we had a spike of suicide in the Filipino community in 2020. So there was a lot of activities in terms of supporting the whānau and the wider family, involving KASA, who can initiate a community meeting of agencies and looking and identifying vulnerable people who we can extend our support to. So receiving the information and heading the inter-agency just demonstrate the complexity of suicide. There's no one reason. Everybody asks why, is there any particular reason for people taking their own lives? There's no one reason. There's a multitude of complex reason for people to take their own lives as a last solution to an issue, underlying issue. So then it's important to work together as agencies, as community, to see what we can all do to support our own community. I'm thinking of, the Filipino community, as I mentioned before, coming under Asians as an umbrella. We went through the same experience as Pacific people until recently that we actually looking at ethnic specific approach to issues in our community, which work well and work quickly within our community, because we know as community leaders, we know how to engage with our community. We know how to look at ways of helping our whānau, our families, and given the resources. I mean, a lot of us work under resource. I certainly have been working under resource to big regional area of Waitemata and Auckland, and yet there's only myself for 7 years of working in that area, which means I have to really engage with agencies and help them, do their bit, and we work together in terms of addressing the issues. So there's a brief kind of a similar system that we have in Counties Manukau, Waitemata and Auckland on how we receive the information. We activate agencies that can help, including victim support. We have the police. We do have Ministry of Education, because when there's a young person died by suicide, they are linked to a school, which means there is a trauma team from Ministry of Education who go into the school, should they be invited into the school, help the school community, but we still have a role to play in terms of looking after, because students go to school, but their parents live in the community. So we need to actually support them, and as I said, victim support play a part in that. If there is a mental health issues, we link up with our mental health services, whether it's the youth mental health, adult mental health, or older people. So we use our network to link in with agencies to be able to provide that support. So it's kind of important to just to let you know that it's not a perfect system. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of gaps within that system, but we do try to review and re-look at those systems to make sure that it is providing the necessary support to the right people in the right time. I mean, it's wonderful to make that happen, but we, from experience, there's a whole lot of gaps that we identified as we travel. Jordan mentioned our suicide prevention director, Matthew Tutaki. He's just been in office recently. So we all look to that body to be a leader on a national level. So hopefully they will be advocating for more funding towards suicide prevention. But the suicide prevention is a whole lot of continuum. It's also mindful of looking after ourselves, the well-being part of it, and there's a lot of our community cultural things that help us maintain our well-being. So it's very important to have that holistic look at our well-being, and I'm sure it's just similar to Pacific. The holistic approach, we're looking at important things in life for us. The spiritual part, the physical part, the mental part. All of that, and it's a strong family will make a strong community. So we need to look after our well-being. And there are always a lot of funding that we hear from the government coming into that space. But it does mean that what is well-being means to our community. It's all very well we say well-being, but what does that really mean for us? And actually getting the resources to target the right approach for our own community. So the well-being, the preventions, the interventions, and also the post-vention, that's a continuum of our services. And when you look at it that way, a person's journey, if there's a touch point in every point of their journey where we can intervene, should we see there is any problem or any issues. And it's like I said, a collective effort. It makes it, suicide prevention should be everybody's business. We should be all involved in that, from a family to our workplace to our community. So it's very complex, so it means a collective effort. So I think that's the thing that I can add to our conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Manu. So I guess what Manu was saying as well, like for counties, we have a Māori post-pension coordinator based at Mangyaring, and we now have a newly appointed Pacifica Prevention person at Penina Trust. And Ivan Yeo from Asian Family Services is involved in our Country's Monaco suicide prevention network, and he's always a phone call away and always open to help, and he's always really keen to offer Asian Family Services as an umbrella to hold resources or trainings or workshops or whatever that might look like. So these are just some of the resources available. I just want to focus down on Awaketara. So Awaketara is a free counselling service for suicide bereaved. This unit, you're entitled to 4 to 6 free sessions with counsellors who work specifically in suicide bereavement. There's one Filipino counsellor, Leah. She's based at Asian Family Services as well, and that's for anybody who's experienced a loss by suicide, even if it was 20 years ago. That help is still available and support is there. Just some apps that can be downloaded around guided meditation. Manawa app is an app that's been done in collaboration with Mental Health Foundation and Country's Monaco Health. If you are supporting somebody who's experiencing suicidal distress, that is an app that you can use as a suicide safety plan, my survival plan. We recommend that that's done with your with a clinician or a counsellor. But it's a really great way to have that directly on the phone. It's for ages 16 and over. But you can upload photos as reminders of your reasons to live. It has a whole bunch of helplines, and you can share that safety plan with your family or with other people that the clinician is working with, so everybody can have that consistent approach to wrap around that love and support for that person experiencing distress. So what to do in a crisis? If anyone is in immediate physical danger, at risk of hurting self or others, calling the police 111 and getting emergency help and support, or going to your nearest ED. Again, those mental health crisis team lines, there is a threshold that they will try to determine whether that person needs help ASAP or able to go back into the community with wraparound support. And if anyone is in crisis, it's really important to not leave them alone. And one of the biggest prevention methods is removing things that people can hurt themselves with. So the term usually uses removing any means of harm. And it kind of speaks for itself, but anything that anybody can hurt themselves with, like car keys or sharp objects or anything like that. Next slide, please. I also brought a bunch of resources from Mental Health Foundation, and they're all outside on the table, focusing on supporting people that are experiencing suicidal distress. Continue to connect with them, try keeping yourself calm and let them know that you care, always keeping them talking and listening with compassion, without trying to problem solve and without judgment. And then always reaching out to professional help and support and working alongside them, and that might look like telling them or asking them if you can come with them to that GP appointment as well. And it's okay to ask somebody if they're thinking about suicide. If they're showing signs that you think that this is something that they're thinking about, it's an absolute myth that asking them about suicide is going to put the idea in their head. It's safer to ask them, and people who have experienced suicidal ideation and distress have said they feel it's almost like a relief when somebody actually asks them and opens up that conversation for them, and always okay to ask for help. These are just 2 videos that are really great around breaking down that kind of like stigma around having those conversations about suicide. So Brave is done by Libreng. It's a short video about around a bunch of young people talking about encouraging parents specifically to ask about if they are feeling suicidal. And the In-Betweeners is a really great little documentary by Asian Family Services, and it's about first generation young people talking about feeling that space of being in between both worlds, from their home country and being Kiwi as well. So really recommend watching those. And I'll be able to send this presentation as well if anyone is interested, and happy to share it Some protective factors down there, obviously that connection to community, self and identity and culture, really, really important. That good family whānau connection and quality time, feeling like they can have open and honest conversations without judgment. Resilience throughout life difficulties and of course accessing help and support, and like I said, that first point of call can usually always just be talking to your doctor, but there is a range of helplines that people can reach out to that are open 24/7. Just some risk factors, bereavement by suicide and access to means of suicide. So that's why it's really important to look at someone's experiencing distress, is to remove those means of harm. And the importance of that post-vention space that we all work in, because we really recognise that there are people that are really vulnerable when they've lost somebody really close to them by suicide. Experience of trauma and exposure to bullying, and like Manu said, there's never any one reason, and it is extremely complex. These risk factors are just from the Ministry of Health website. They're really short here, but they have a link to a research document that kind of unpacks all of that, and if you are interested in the kind of academic side of that. Again, just a range of, sorry, it's like very wordy presentation, all the different phone lines and links. The lowdown has just recently been crashed. It's like a mental health awareness site created by young people for young people, range of helplines. Skylight is a really wonderful resilience hub for people who have experienced trauma or sudden death in the family. Another one I really like is Kenzie's Gift. That supports mental health and well-being for tamariki, particularly around grief and loss. And they have some really beautiful resources to support young people. It's something that I'm quite interested in because only supports people over the age of 18. So our tamariki, they can be really, really impacted by this, and sometimes their voices aren't brought into those conversations. So I guess it's really important to, notice how they're managing grief and loss, particularly around sudden death. So that site's really great. Has some workbooks and toolkits to download for children. So those are our contacts. I have a clinical lead, Dr. Mangyaring. He is a psychiatrist, and he does some mahi in the youth forensic space as well. He's kind of like my clinical guide, but like Manu said, there's counterparts across them too, and a lot of amazing people working in this space. Like KAISA that Manu mentioned, Clinical Advisory Services, Aotearoa, they hold the contract for Auckland, but also the Coronial Data Service, and they also run like suicide prevention training for Oranga Tamariki staff as well. So there's a lot of different agencies that are working in this space, and we really try to work collectively together for that collective effort to reduce suicide in our community. So yeah, thank you very much, and I'm always happy to be contacted.
That is show our appreciation for your time.
Thank you
These
so much.
these are all
Okay, any questions? I think we're running out of time. We talked too much, so there's a whole lot of information that we projected on you, but we know that this is not the end of the conversations. It's like I said, everybody's affected by one way or another by suicide, but we have to help each other, look out for each other as a community and as a family. Just make sure that everybody is all good. That's Thank you so much for the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Break, just to have a break of that tension. I could feel there's a bit of emotional and traumatic feeling we are having at the moment. So feel free to have some coffee or tea and later we will have our Filipino doctor.
Hi. Yes. Yes, yes. I can hear you. Brian? Hello. Yes. I can hear you. I can hear you. Brian? Hello. Yes. I can hear you. Brian? Hello? 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 Can you please check my I wrote something in the chat box. Can you please check my I wrote something in the chat box. Can you please check my I wrote something in the chat box. Hello? Hi? Can you hear me? Hello? Hi? Can you hear me? Hello? Hi? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? 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 Mm. Yes, can you hear me now? Mm. Yun nga eh. I can hear myself getting 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 Hi, audio check. Hi, audio check. But I can hear myself like 5 seconds after. I can hear myself 5 seconds after I spoke. But I can hear myself like 5 seconds. I can hear myself 5 seconds after I spoke. But I can hear myself I can hear myself 5 seconds after I spoke. But I can spoke. I see. There. Okay, I turned it off now. Ayan, okay. And can you see my slideshow? I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you see this? Can you see the slideshow? Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Wait, I can't see it. No, I can see it.
Okay, since we are a bit pressed of time, you can bring along your refreshments onto your seat and we will proceed. We have to continue on. If you can bring your coffee and tea to your seats so we can proceed. The next two segments will be more direct to our community because we have two speakers and they are both Filipinas, so it's more direct now to our situation. So if you don't mind bringing in your food to your seats so we can continue on. Okay, we can. I hope you are enjoying my bake this morning. Capital letter, my. Gusto mo ba, Doktor? Have you tried? Our next presenter, our next speaker will be coming by link to...
Audio test. Hello. Okay.
Because she is based in
Audio test.
and
Hello.
her name, allow me to give you the bit of background of Dr. Geraldine Ann Lobo. She is a graduate of UERM College of Medicine,
Audio test.
1997. She is
Audio
a
test.
fellow of the Philippine Psychiatric Association, the Philippine Society of Child
Sound test.
and Psychiatry, and a member of the American Psychiatric Association. Dean is a graduate of Medical City Psychiatry Residency Training Program, where she is later served as the department's inpatient and ward administrator. She has post-residency fellowship trainings in child and adolescent
Would I be going
consultation
after Dr. Wu?
psychiatry from the PCNC, which is the Psychiatry Residency Training. University of Melbourne at St. Vincent's Health Science in Australia. She practiced at the Medical City Philippine Children's Medical Center, RMT Center of Family Ministries. She was training officer of the section Child and Adolescent Psychiatry and a core faculty of Ateneo School of Medicine and Public Health. Dr. Dean recently moved to New Zealand and currently works at the Child, Adults and Mental Health Service in Mangyaring, Northland District Health Board. So we are fortunate for me to be able to introduce and invite her to give us her sharing and her experience.
Here. Will I be going ahead of Dr. Lu? Can you hear me? Wait. Okay. Will I be going now ahead of the? Can I just?
So we ask everyone to be a little bit
Is it better with the earphones on? Okay, good. Okay, yan. Sige. So, everyone can hear me now? Alright. Sige. Let me just... Is this okay? Alright. Okay. So, shall I start na? Okay, sige. Time check. I have 15 minutes, right? Okay. Sige. Is it okay that I speak in mixed Filipino English? Kailang magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. It's an honor to be here. I'm Dr. Dean Lobo, Just to let you know, as was said in the introduction, I just recently moved to New Zealand in July, and I started work in September. So, well, it's quite sad though that we are meeting for the first time under these circumstances, and I hope in the future we could gather again as a community and get to know you better under better circumstances. Just the same, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. So I have about 15 minutes, so maybe I'll start the ball rolling and I guess cut through the chase now. My talk will be about building resilience in the Filipino community. Although I would like to also say that being a new person in the community, I wouldn't be in the best position to speak about the migrant experience. So I hope in the next 15 minutes I will be able to talk in a general sense about how we can help each other to raise resilient children and adolescents. Myself being a child and adolescent psychiatrist, so I will be focusing more on talking to the parents and the carers of children and adolescents and how to raise them to be resilient people. Yeah. Okay. So these are the objectives. You would want to describe resiliency and its different components and identify how we can promote resiliency in our kids. Okay, so just a bit of reality check. No? So there's 1 in 5 of the population who would suffer from mental illness. And this is actually mostly the population that we serve, myself and Dr. Lou. So being resilient will not necessarily prevent us from developing a mental illness, but resilience is for everyone, whether you have a mental illness or not. Now, I cannot go into a lecture about the neurobiology or medical basis for mental illness. Suffice to say, for the parents and carers out there, if your young person develops an illness, this is not a blame game. In the same way that, for example, if someone falls physically ill, like have a fever or a fracture or a serious illness like cancer, it's not something that can be prevented by resilience alone. But we can help each other develop resilience, whether we fall into the 80% or the 20% of the population. So what is resilience? I think there's a tendency for us as parents to try to helicopter or coddle our children. But I'd like to take this quote from the website on resiliency. There's the saying that we'd like to wrap our children in our arms and insulate them from every misfortune. But if we could, would it really benefit them in the long run? So what is resilience? It is the capacity to rise above difficult circumstances, allowing our children to exist in this less than perfect world while moving forward with optimism and confidence. So I think the key words here are allowing our children to experience difficult circumstances and rise above them, and to accept the reality that our world is less than perfect. Okay, and help them develop optimism, not the unrealistic optimism of being happy-go-lucky and all that, but optimism that provides hope as well as confidence in themselves. So most of what I will be talking about, because there's a lot of material about resilience out there, and most of what I'll be talking about will be based on the principles and the studies done by the pediatrician named Dr. Kenneth Ginsberg. So he developed this 7 C's of resilience, and because I have only a couple of minutes to discuss this, at least you know that in this day and age of internet, you can you just type in 7 C's of resilience, Kenneth Ginsberg, and there's a whole lot of material that you can read on the internet about this. Okay. So let me skip on this. Okay, so just to give a perspective that aside from the pressures that we've all been going through, there's also on this comes in the background of we've been experiencing the pandemic for more than 2 years already. And so now, what are the three core themes for parents out there and for carers of children and teens? So I think, pandemic or not, there are three core themes that are important to emphasize for parents who are raising children and teens. We want to keep in mind, though, that these are the very qualities that you want our children to have, that begins with a strong foundation in childhood. Actually, not even childhood, but even from the earliest period of pregnancy, where and infancy, where secure attachment can develop. So a strong bond or solid relationship with your child begins much earlier than adolescence or teenhood. And this is very important to emphasize. Most of the problems that come up when they're already in teens, but you cannot actually expect your teen, for instance, to listen to you if you did not lay the foundations early on. So the first is unconditional love creates security. So this is the bedrock of resilience. And this means that it gives them the security that allows them to take chances when they need to adapt to new circumstances. And the knowledge that in the long run, all will be okay. So for example, how do we address our kids who are going through the stresses of schooling, for instance, transitioning from primary school to intermediate to high school and then through college, for instance. So hopefully the parents will be the source of this essential ingredient of resilience. But keep in mind that especially in our culture, a grandparent, an uncle, an auntie, or even the teacher, the health professionals and the counselors can fill that role. So the more supportive adults in a child's life, the more firmly rooted and unshakable the security will be. Next is children meet adult expectations for better or worse. So what does this mean? If parents expect the best of their children, kids tend to live up to those standards. And by standards, we do not mean achievements or getting straight A's or shooting perfect games. High standards mean being something as simple as just being a good human being considerate, being respectful, honest, generous, responsible, etc. So you cannot say, for instance, that you're not relating to your kids because you don't know what League of Legends is, or what the latest video games is, or what they're watching on anime. It means that it should be that you're the one, who should be able to connect with them despite the seeming generation gap. At least what you could do is at least know what they are up to, for instance. Now, for the third, children watch what we do more than they listen to what we say. So as the most powerful models, parents are in the best position to teach them about stress and resilience. So it always goes without saying, role modeling is very important. Now, let me get into more detail about it. So Kenneth Ginsberg, he developed the 7 C's of resilience. And I think I'd also like to emphasize that it's important to know that there's no resilient child if there's no resilient parent. So in other words, you cannot expect your child to be resilient if you did not invest on it. So may kasamang puhunan yan in raising your child. So the first C is competence. So competence is the ability to handle situations effectively, and it is rooted in experience. So these are the reflective questions that you might want to ask yourself as a parent. Do I help my child focus on her strengths rather than weaknesses? Do I notice that my child does well, or do I focus on my child's mistakes? Do I let them make safe mistakes, or do I try to protect them from every trip and fall? So this is what I was saying earlier about, let's try not to be too much of a helicopter parent and try to avoid everything that they might do that may cause them to get hurt. And as I try to protect them, does my interference mistakenly send the message, I don't think you can handle this? So it's very important for us to raise competent children by allowing them to explore and to do whatever it is that they might want to do, despite our fears that they might get hurt, or they might make mistakes, or they might fail. So that's competence. And then related to that would be confidence. Okay. Confidence is not your warm and fuzzy self-esteem kind of confidence. So you want to be able to develop the child to have a solid belief in his or her own abilities. So these are the reflective questions that you might want to ask. Do I see the best in my child so that he can see the best in himself? Do I clearly express that I expect the best in them? And again, this is not about achievements, but personal qualities like fairness, integrity, persistence, and kindness. And then, do I praise my child honestly about specific achievements? Or do I give such diffuse praise that it doesn't seem authentic? So it takes a lot of practice, no? Kasi we hear a lot of, and I could be guilty if it also, no? When we praise our kids and just say, very good, di ba? So an example of this would be what, again, you can Google this, no? What Carol Dweck says about the fixed versus the growth mindset. So again, in the interest of time, here are some examples na lang that I can give you on how you can allow your child, no? Or how you can give the right words of praises to your child that will help them develop a sort of growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, which is also related to resilience. So for example, we focus too much on grades, right? So instead of saying, how did you do on your test, you might want to ask, what did you learn in school today? Or instead of asking, how many goals did you score, how did you pick up your game? Instead of saying, which you often say, diba, you're so smart, you're a great artist, or you're so beautiful, these are fixed traits kasi of our kids that might in the long term it might backfire on them. So you focus more on the effort and the process that they do when they achieve something. So instead of saying you're so smart, you can say, I love how you think, how you work so hard to figure things out. Or if you're a great artist, you can say you're a great artist, but focus on the specifics. So tell me about the picture. It seems to have so much feeling. Or I like how you combine the colors in such a unique way. So something like that. No, I know it takes practice, but it will be beneficial in the long term. So that's confidence. Okay. Now the third is connection. So I think these are concepts that we actually already know, but sometimes we tend to take for granted, di ba? Kasi bingo, si Doktora naman, ano ba sinasabi niya? Confidence, competence, connection, obvious naman. But in the business of our lives, I think these are things that are very basic, but sometimes we tend to take for granted or forget. So for connection, these are some of the reflective questions that you might want to ask. Do we build a sense of physical safety and emotional security within our home? Do I allow my child to express all types of emotions? Or do I suppress unpleasant feelings? So I think yan, important yan ngayon because kids would be hesitant sometimes to open up to parents because they are afraid already of being judged, or they will or when they start talking about how they're feeling, it will be dismissed na it's all in the mind o nag-iinarte ka na naman. And one thing that I hope to emphasize din na we want to prevent saying is, why are you depressed? You have so much blessings. You should just be thankful, or you should be grateful. Just count your blessings. So those are the things that it is true, yeah. But at that moment, it's important to have that connection, to be able to listen first. So listen first before making unsolicited advice or giving judgment kaagad. Okay? And then addressing conflict. So that's a very important. No, not putting things or keeping things under the rug. And then again, I think this is a very common issue, no? Having our own gadgets when we're together, or do we create a common screen-free space where our family shares time together? Yeah. And then number 4, naka 15 minutes na ako. I'm just conscious that I think we also need to give the floor to Dr. Luno. So, are we going to finish at exactly 4? May I ask? Okay lang? Okay, sige. Alright. Sige. So, the 4th is character. So, I can slow down a bit, okay? The 4th is character. So, these are the questions naman that you want to ask yourself. Am I helping my child recognize himself as a caring person? So, again, it sounds very basic, diba? But if we tend to take these things for granted, it's not something actually that we necessarily teach as if teaching in a lecture, but it goes without saying it's very important to walk the talk or model the same behavior that you want your child to develop. Do I allow my child to consider right versus wrong and look beyond immediate satisfaction or selfish needs? So again, this is something that we need to ask ourselves, especially in this day and age of immediate gratification, where everything is given to us on a silver platter. Everything is available at the click of a finger on our smartphones. Okay. So, do I model the importance of caring for others, or do we teach it as if we just pay lip service, but we do not actually model the same behavior that we want our kids to develop? Do I encourage effort and tenacity? So this is similar to what I was saying earlier about raising confident children in terms of the growth mindset and helping them appreciate themselves for the hard work and the effort that they give into something. And do I help my child think about how delaying gratification can pay off later? So this is really a huge challenge, especially in this day and age of technology, where most of our kids, even ourselves, as adults who tend to get glued to our screens and social media and all that, are not able to develop this sense of delaying gratification because everything is handed to us, at the click of a finger. Okay. And then the 5th would be contribution, which is actually similar to the 4th one of character. So do we communicate to our children that many people in the world do not have as much human contact, okay, and security as they need? So even before saying that na you're lucky or you're fortunate or to count your blessings, we also should be able to communicate that there's a certain level of awareness that our kids have to develop then, that the world is so much bigger out there, it's so much bigger out there, and not just within the confines of our mobile phones or cell phones, but at the same time, we also should be able to offer a listening ear to our children when they start expressing certain negative feelings, such as feeling sad or feeling anxious about something. And then teaching and modeling the important value of serving others, creating opportunities for each child to contribute in some specific way. So, for example, I think in the schools here in New Zealand, diba, there are a lot of activities that are offered to children so that they don't get confined into their own homes and are able to participate in certain community activities. And then do I search my child circle for other adults who might serve as role models who can contribute to their communities and the world. So why am I emphasizing this? Siguro it goes back to my own personal experience and maybe your personal experience then. Na when we didn't have, para sa atin na hindi lumaki sa sa generation ng tech and digital technology, no? I did a lot of observation growing up kasi I didn't have a gadget. So, I just tended to observe. So, for example, I took into heart and mind, for example, the teachers, no, who made a mark on my life. Or I observed how my mom or my dad behaved towards other people and how my mom and my dad raised me. Kaya lang parang ngayon, because of what's happening parang there's no more time for children to just, sit and be mindful of what's happening in their world. And instead, ano yung nangyayari? Who are the idols? Mga influencers, people on TikTok, hindi lang influencers na yun, diba? Parang content creators. Not that I have anything against these things, but I think it's important to, walk the talk and model that kind of, give them that sense of people that they experience in real life, na somebody that they could look up to. Okay? And then, second to the last na, coping. Yan. Coping is very important, no? When we want our kids to develop resilience. So, reflective questions. Do I allow my child enough time for imaginative play? As I recognize that they are childhood's tools to solve problems. So, that's why I'm very, very particular when I talk to parents and ask them how much gadget time do the kids have, especially for the young ones, those who are in the primary years. Kasi this is the golden period for them to develop imaginative play through non-digital means. So play meaning, going outside and playing with toys, because it allows them to make use of all the five senses. Okay? And from a neurobiological perspective, that time that they're able to actually develop their capacity to solve problems, so that later on, hindi sila yung parang they don't go into a panic na konting problema lang It's like the end of the world already. And then, do we help our children understand the difference between, between a real crisis and something that just feels like an emergency. Okay? So there's a real crisis, and then there's a crisis na parang magugunaw na ang mundo dahil exam week na and I haven't studied. Okay? Or do I model positive coping strategies on a consistent basis? So again, we cannot expect our kids and our teens to develop effective problem-solving strategies if, number one, we did not allow them imaginatively in childhood, and number two, if they do not see that in their parents or whoever are the adults that they are with, at home and in school. So modeling positive coping strategies among us parents and caregivers is very important. And then, do I create a family environment where talking, listening, and sharing a safe, and sharing are safe, comfortable, and productive? So similar to what I was saying earlier about allowing our children, and teens to talk to us and express what they are feeling before making judgments or unsolicited advice. So just allowing yourself to offer a listening ear and offering what is it that you can do to help them. Okay? Yeah. And then the last is control. So reflective questions here will be, do I help my child understand that life's events are not all purely random, and most things happen as a direct result of someone's actions? So what do we mean by this? Example, panicking before an exam or a school requirement. Okay, so it sounds like parang everything everything is losing control, or everything is parang so distressing. But if you analyze it, they don't realize that they didn't really spend time preparing for an exam, or they kept procrastinating, or just watching TikTok, or chatting with friends, or gaming. So in other words, there are consequences to certain actions. Okay? Or on the other hand, do I help my child understand that she also isn't responsible for many of the bad circumstances in life? For example, instead of blaming herself kaagad, no? Getting scolded by a teacher. So sometimes I would get referrals like that. Getting scolded by a teacher, tapos traumatized na, doesn't want to go to school. But what's the reality there? Meron naman talagang mga mean teachers in real life, di ba? Meron naman talagang mga strict. So, in other words, how do we help them navigate through that particular situation? Or being overloaded with schoolwork. So, in other words, parang, what value do we teach them in regard to that? The value of sacrifice, di ba? Parang, schoolwork is hard. Okay, so let's find solutions in order for you to cope. For example, time management or time organization. And then, do I understand that discipline is about teaching, no? Not just punishing or controlling. So, actually, a huge part of what we do as parents, no, is really about teaching, but not the teaching of like just lecturing or doing it's not like a didactic activity, but teaching in the sense of walking the talk and modeling the right behavior that you want your child to develop. Okay, and so when children realize they can control the outcomes of their decisions and actions, they're more likely to know that they have the ability to do what it takes to bounce back. So, as what I mentioned earlier, if you set the right standards, they will actually live up to the parents' expectations, because that is what they are also seeing in you. Now, on the other hand, if parents make all the decisions, children are denied opportunities to learn control, a child who feels that everything always happens to me, or tends to become passive, pessimistic, or even depressed, he sees control now as an external. And whatever he does doesn't really matter because he has no control of the outcome. But a resilient child knows that he has internal control. And by choices and actions, he determines the results. So that is control. He knows that he can make a difference, which further promotes competence and confidence. Okay? And, okay, last slide. A word on kids, teens, and their digital world. So a lot of you might be wondering, is digital media ba talaga harmful? Like being on cell phones and gadgets and social media, etc. It's not harmful per se, because I myself, when I just want to take a break or when I want to rest, my downtime is watching YouTube videos. But I guess what's important to keep in mind is there are only 24 hours in a day, diba? So the more screen time, the less time for life experiences, such as playing, experiencing what it is to win versus to lose, experiencing conflict and how to resolve it, experiencing success versus failure, and being able to discern the difference and incorporate it into experience, and just about the whole human experience of just being. So that is what can be harmful. If they spend too much time, there's less time for real life experiences. Yeah. Okay. So again, the 7 C's of resilience, which you can learn more about, on the internet if you Google 7 C's of Resilience by Kenneth Ginsburg. And siguro, just to end with this note, because I'm a Gen Xer, syempre, our hero is still, ako hero ko pa rin, Superman. Christopher Reeve. A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles. So, yan. So, I hope I didn't overwhelm you with too much information. So, thank you. Yes. No worries. Thank you. Thank you.